I'm Matt Landau, and this is Unlocked, Season 6, Magic Zones. This episode's brought to you by Point Central, the leaders in smart home automation, and Breezeway, a property care and operations platform. This interview with Julie Brinkman is part of our new CEO series, in which we sit down with some of the new executives who are finding their way to our industry and applying skills they've refined elsewhere to help you solve your problems. CEOs like Julie aren't unlike customer service wizards you discover at a hair salon or operations virtuosos that you lure away from a restaurant, in that she represents a new perspective from outside the box. Julie represents the adjacent possible, a kind of shadow future hovering on the edges of the present state of our industry, a map of all the ways in which our vacation rental businesses can reinvent themselves. So keep your eyes open for people like this. Their fresh energy and perspective may help you break through. But before the interview, brief summary of where this interview took place at VRMA Florida Connect, which was such a treat to attend. I cannot even begin to describe how recharging it was to be around vacation rental professionals again. If you haven't attended a vacation rental conference before, I'd highly encourage you to consider pulling the trigger this year and do it as an investment in yourself. It's just as much of a tool for your growth as it is for your self-care, which is increasingly important in an industry that tends to grind you physically and mentally and emotionally. Being around other people who are doing the same thing, it is cathartic. Over the span of conference week, I probably chatted with 100 independent property owners and managers, and I thought I'd share 3 big takeaways. The first is that we're entering boom time. The demand for vacation rentals as destinations open up is so far beyond the supply that you should have a good 12 to 24 months in which your demand is soaring. So take advantage of this time, not to sit back or rest on your laurels or get complacent, but get ultra focused, really step on the gas and think about exactly the kind of vacation rental business you want to build. Now is the time to get a lead on all of your competition. Number 2, the big vacation rental management companies in our industry are getting even bigger, and the small vacation rental owners and managers in our industry are getting bigger too. And by bigger, I mean more powerful. If you're an independent owner or manager, you are in control of the choke point, the 2 variables that define the whole equation, and that is your relationship with the property itself and the hospitality that you curate for your guests. These are 2 areas in which money or size or corporate influence cannot infringe on. Focus on these elements, keep your head down, and hunker down for what's going to be an exceptional ride. And number 3, get ready for Airbnb to show up at your doorstep again, soliciting your business. Their CEO recently came out stating that their demand was so much greater than supply that they needed to begin acquiring new inventory. And because their bread and butter, the urban markets, were hit hardest during the pandemic, that means they're coming for you. The independent owner or manager has consistently been thrown under the bus by Airbnb, and it doesn't mean that you need to ignore them or refuse to do business with them. It means you need to draw your lines very clearly and determine how you are going to use that platform to achieve your goal. Not unlike any relationship, the more clearly you know what you want in a partner, the more quickly you can decide whether it's the right fit. Okay, enough from the conference. Let's get down to the conversation with Julie. Julie Brinkman, are you Jewish?
No, I wish. If they'll take me.
We will accept you.
Thank you. I've been looking for someone to sponsor me.
Brinkman sound Jewish.
Brinkman is inherited from my husband.
Okay.
My original last name is White, which is who knows?
Okay.
That's nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Sandestin, Florida. Describe the room that we're sitting in, first of all.
They're tall ceilings, very ornate. Not a lot of daylight, but it's very fancy. It's called the Cypress Ballroom, I believe.
Yeah, it's got a nice theme to it. And we are at VRMA Connect here in Florida, which is the first vacation rental event in a long time for a lot of people, including yourself.
My first ever.
You have never been to a vacation rental conference.
Never.
Are you prepared?
I am very open to all types of experiences.
Have you heard anything about vacation rental conferences?
I might have, but I refuse to reveal my sources.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you refuse to get biased. You're going in with a completely open mind.
Exactly.
What I like to tell people who are relatively new to the industry when they attend one of these conferences is just be like a complete sponge, because asking questions and hearing the way that managers describe their problems is like the best, most valuable intel that exists.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there will be plenty of people to speak with. You are here with your company.
That's right.
Beyond. Formerly Beyond Pricing. And are you thinking about in the future just calling it B?
We'll see what we can do.
Beyond Pricing was originally a dynamic pricing tool, but as you just explained to me, it's broadened its scope. Run through the features real quick.
Yeah, so we got our start 8 years ago in pricing. So David Kelso, our founder and CTO, he was managing properties in San Francisco and doing pricing by hand, and realized that the technology on the market he couldn't use. And so he started to build his own pricing model, and then realized that's what he really wanted to be focused on, not managing properties in San Francisco. And so that was born out of this idea that technology isn't serving the short-term rental or vacation rental market. And that's what we've spent the last 8 years focused on. But there's other areas that we believe that the vacation rental market isn't being served well from a technology standpoint. Distribution. So we have our Relay product for certain PMSs getting their listings to the OTAs. We have Signal, which is a direct website and booking option. We also have our Insights tool, which is our data and analytics platform, and projection, so helping PMs project what a property would earn. And then lastly, guidance, which is our professional services, revenue management services for those who aren't staffed for it.
No longer just pricing.
No longer just pricing.
Now I see why you dropped the pricing.
Yes.
How did you learn all of this? Because you were not trained in vacation rentals.
I wasn't. This is my training.
What was Julie pre-vacation rentals?
So prior to vacation rentals, I was also in a vertical-focused software company. So I was at Hierology. It's a Chicago-based software company for
And vertical, what does that mean? Vertical?
So focused on a specific industry,
okay.
Versus horizontal software, which tries to serve everyone in every different industry. The software platforms focus specifically on an industry to really solve their problems, in a meaningful way.
So like Salesforce would be horizontal.
Exactly.
Because they work with lots of different industries. You were working with a vertical, which would be a silo, a specific industry.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how do you solve more problems deeply in a specific industry?
Interesting. I just heard someone explain the best way to win at vacation rentals is to go deep instead of wide. I had never heard that, but I like that.
See?
Okay, so that's what you were doing immediately prior?
That's right. So I was there for 5 years.
Okay. In what kind of role there?
I started out as a vice president of customer success, because like any startup, when you are first getting off the ground, all you focus on is getting customers in the door. And then everyone realizes, oh shit, someone has to manage these people because they're leaving as fast as they're coming in. So I was brought on to figure out how we can keep our customers and keep them happy. And then grew into eventually the chief operating officer role, where I had, day-to-day responsibilities for all functions of the business.
How did you do that, out of curiosity?
Get to that role?
No, how did you figure out the customer thing?
Trial and error. I mean, yeah, there's lots of things first you have to talk to your customers a lot and learn what's working and what's not working, and then help to improve your product to make sure that you cover off on the things that aren't working. You have to go see them. You have to, be with them in the product. So there was just a lot of things we weren't doing that were pretty basic.
So your role in that company, I'm guessing, created your reputation for you to then move into Beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I love growing with an organization and helping to, I think create order out of chaos. A lot of these startups, it's great. They have product market fit. They've grown like crazy. Now it's time to put structure and scaffolding around the business so you can continue to grow and not fall apart.
And that so perfectly describes a lot of managers right now.
Yes.
Who are just replete with bookings.
It is. I was just speaking to a customer downstairs, and I spent yesterday with a customer, and they cannot keep up with the demand right now. And we'll talk about this maybe in a minute, but labor shortage is a real problem. They can't get reservationists in, so they're literally, guests are getting here and not speaking to anyone. So it's great, but at the same time, they can't get people in fast enough.
And it's a time to really fine-tune your bolts, because you can just continue growing and think that that's success, but soon enough, the wheels will come flying off, right?
Yeah. If you don't preserve guest experience, if you're not doing the things that are going to help sustain this growth, you run into trouble later.
So most people, when they enter the industry, learn a whole lot real quick. They're like, what the hell kind of industry is this? Because it's not like other ones.
Sure.
What were some of your big lessons up front?
I started at Beyond on March 2nd, 2020. So it was good timing. I was ready for a completely different trajectory than what happened. And so my learnings are probably mostly informed by the COVID pandemic, less of, I haven't been able to get out and see our customers. This is my first time seeing customers in person. But what I've been able to glean and learn over the last year is there's such passion and love for travel and, vacation rentals. A lot of, what maybe the general public sees as Airbnb, but this industry is decades old. That to me was a big learning. And, hearing how we just talked about it, these folks with a passion for travel match their passion with a business opportunity and have grown from 1-2 listings now to, our biggest customer over 1,000. So it's really fun. And, I have a passion for travel and a passion for vacation rentals. So being able to sort of match those things together is incredibly exciting.
The breed of entrepreneur, they don't think of themselves. The people in that room don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs.
What do they think of themselves as?
I don't know, because a lot of them got started kind of accidentally.
Sure.
They see themselves as opportunists in a way, and they have built significant businesses, but it's a very unique kind of entrepreneur that you likely don't see in other industries, I'm guessing.
It is gritty. You're getting your hands dirty, literally.
Folks, I find myself saying this often, but in order to find your sweet spot or magic zone, it helps to fully recognize and embrace yourself as the entrepreneur that you are. What may have started off as an emotional or informal side hustle has now become a real business that's disrupting the world of hospitality. And you did that. But work smarter as opposed to harder. When you make that psychological shift and embrace your role as your personal CEO, you turn a corner and you start viewing things through a small business lens, which leads to all kinds of more shrewd and profitable business decisions. Get aggressive with this. You have earned it.
Probably the most influential variable in terms of updating a business is pricing, and is really getting a pulse on your numbers. And that's where technology comes in. That's what Beyond does really well. What is the balance between using all the technology and the data with actually doing stuff manually, making human decisions?
Yeah, it's a good question. Vacation rental inventory is unique. Most units are not like other units. And so there's a lot of data that you can observe. So location, occupancy, historical rates, all of that, tools and software is really, really good at reading and recommending options. There's things that are more difficult, though, to discern. Guest reviews, whether it's an updated schema or, maybe a little outdated. There's also owner personalities too that you want to make sure you're catering to. That's where, strong revenue management and people management skills coupled with software can really propel your business forward.
So revenue management, dynamic pricing, market data. How do those three things interact? And I'm asking very genuinely because I'm not entirely sure I know.
Sure. I would think of revenue management as the pie. And within the pie, there's other, mini pies. Dynamic pricing is one very, very important section of that pie, as is market data, which helps inform your pricing. I mean, you cannot have effective pricing if you're not looking at what's going on in the market around you and specifically very close to you. Revenue management, though, also encompasses distribution. So how you're getting your listings to the right eyeballs. It encompasses marketing, how you're increasing those eyeballs. And so it's really that whole discipline that encompasses it all.
And most managers are using revenue management strategies already, or not so much?
From what I've been able to learn over the past year, the answer is yes. Now, whether they're doing it manually based on historical understanding and precedence or using a software to help predict what's going to happen, that's where you start to see those two camps evolve.
This episode's brought to you by Point Central, the leaders in business-grade smart property solutions for vacation rental managers. But instead of reading the canned copy that I was supposed to, I wanted to try to explain to you why I think Point Central is so important in my own words. And it starts with the fact that so many vacation rental managers that we interview have been using Point Central for so long and are so happy with the service. The best way to describe it is by thinking about your relationship with your smartphone. The first day you got that iPhone or Android and realized the impact it would have on your business and your life, you would never go back to an old school analog phone again. Smart home automation is the same way. Connected door locks that allow guests to go directly to their rental means they're not wasting valuable vacation time. It's simply more seamless and enjoyable. There are water leak detectors, humidity limits, the chance to control your utility bills by scheduling set points. Even the simple HVAC analytics, turned technological, allows you to control your business from your smartphone anywhere in the world. And this has an amazing impact on your bottom line. It reduces maintenance costs and back and forth driving. It also enhances the speed of communication amongst your team, which leads to 5-star reviews. You can head over to pointcentral.com/VRMB for a demo. They're also now accepting managers with less than 25 properties, which is a new level of power to the independent hospitality creators of our space. And Breezeway, a property care and operations platform. But let me explain to you what they mean by that. If you think of it like the data rate between two computers, the higher your data rate, the more you can download and upload, the faster your messages go through, the more efficient you are in your business and your life. And once you use a high-speed data rate, it's very hard to go back to the old school dial-up modem. The same is true about Breezeway's property care platform as it relates to communication with your team. Your housekeepers and your maintenance team are arguably your most important players. So it really boils down to how quickly and efficiently and accurately you can communicate what you want to them on the ground. Breezeway's checklists, photo validation, and seamless integration with your property management software means that the speed of communication amongst your team members goes up, and so does the guest satisfaction levels. Head over to breezeway.io/VRMB, where they will waive a $1,000 implementation fee upon your demo if you decide to sign up. That's breezeway.io/VRMB. Let's get back to the show.
And so pre-COVID, there was a whole set of vacation rental data.
Yep.
completely irrelevant?
I don't know that it's irrelevant. I mean, all data should be considered, but we're in a new world now. I mean, our customer I was speaking to yesterday, Best Beach Getaways, they're now seeing their season extend through November. There was no downtime. That is not observable pre-COVID. Your notion of seasons, of expected traveler behavior, we're learning as we're going right now. So I think it's important to look at, and maybe we'll return to that in some form, but we have a new norm now, with remote work, potentially remote schooling, people realizing how important travel was when they weren't able to do it for a year, and really finding that love and getting back on the road and experiencing what they were not able to do for so long.
It's interesting. Almost all of our clients have had to find new markets. They've certainly had to adapt in terms of like average booking windows and guest stays. Are there any trends that you've noticed sort of across the board in the States? Because I think the States, for the most part, is a bit of an indicator for the rest of the world. Is that fair?
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
So, the continental U.S., coastal cities, drive-to markets, they've been faring pretty well. Now, the fly-to markets within the U.S., not so much. And then, Hawaii, which is now actually seeing a huge resurgence. But the trends that we saw last year, where literally guests were booking and traveling the next day, so no booking lead time, shifting from short-term rentals to longer-term rentals, we're seeing a lot of that come back to sort of quote-unquote normal patterns, where booking lead times are not 7 days, now they're like 45 days on average. And, inventory coming back online as short-term rentals versus long-term. We're still, though, seeing a higher level of cancellations. So, I think with the more flexible cancellation policies managers have put in place, which is great from a guest standpoint, people are taking advantage of as they seek to, figure out what's right for them and their family.
Mm-hmm. And typically, so if we sort of broke down the people who are downstairs into very small managers, let's say less than 20 properties,
Yep.
And then sort of mid-size managers, 20 to, let's say, 50, or maybe even up to 100. Starting with the small guys, are there any specific strengths that the small guys can and should be taking advantage of from a pricing perspective over their larger counterparts?
Well, they just, the smaller PMs have the ability to be more nimble than the larger counterparts. You're talking fewer owners. You probably understand your units very intimately, and then you can inform your strategies on a more micro basis versus the larger folks, where you are looking at listings as numbers, not as owners or, cute names. Mm-hmm. The other challenge that we talked about at the top of this discussion was labor. Small PMs don't have the need for, a dozen reservationists. They can manage on their own, and with labor shortage, that is an advantage over the larger PMs.
And so, like, what I can see the implication of labor, like basically treat your all-star employees really, really well and pay them really well.
I mean, employee retention, that was my past life, is how you treat your team as humans and allow for them to bring their whole self to work. That will keep an employee happy and make sure they stay with you.
And then what about on the being nimble side of things? What are some like literally action items that they can pull to take advantage of that?
So when you're smaller and you're more nimble, I mean, you can literally flex on things like min stays. You can remove them. You can be more aggressive with things that are going to get inventory booked faster, whether that's last minute discounts or even gap fills, things like that. You can because you have a closer relationship with your owners and understand what their strategies and what their goals are, adapt to and take advantage of.
So the smaller the business, most likely the better the relationship with the owner, and most likely the more nimble you can be with your pricing?
I think deeper relationship with the owner. So it's not always going to be, sunshine and rainbows, but your level of understanding of what the owner seeks, whether that's, profit or just occupancy, or just they want their second home, to pay for itself, that allows you to, fulfill those needs on a more specific basis.
Mm-hmm. And what about some of the larger managers? What are the things that they should be, the strings they should be pulling that they have advantages over the small guys?
I mean, larger managers have the advantage of a larger portfolio. So you're able to, observe what's happening with units that are like, that are same size or same location, and compare, the occupancy or rates or revenue you're getting there. So they have more data at their fingertips to, which helps them, in their strategies.
And these are the ones that tend to be using a tool like Beyond, or is it all types?
Well, we have 5,000 customers, everyone from, private rooms all the way up to 1,000 listings. So really this tool is meant for any owner or manager who's seeking to be able to price on a real-time basis based on demand.
And one of the things I always like to ask newcomers to the industry, because you have fresh eyes that we don't have. As my grandfather would always say, to the worm in the horseradish, the world is horseradish.
I feel like I want to meet your grandfather.
He's no longer with us.
Well, maybe one day.
One day, in heaven. What, with your fresh eyes, do you see as huge area for improvement about our industry moving forward?
What a question. A huge area of improvement.
Yeah, like you've entered this industry, you're like, I'd like to change and improve that aspect if I could.
Well, I mean, I'd probably be giving away our future roadmap if I talked about what we see areas for improvement are. I think on the whole, for property managers, they know their business. And where I see a huge area of improvement is the way that people like us, vendors, build technology for vacation rental owners and managers and service that technology. I can't tell you the number of complaints that I get from our customers about other software customer support. At the end of the day, this is a human business. These are people that, like we mentioned, love travel, started out with one, ended up with 100 listings, and should be treated like humans as well. And so, that to me is a huge area of opportunity. And one of our differentiators that I'm proud to say is we literally go beyond. We'll log into your PMS and try to debug it for you because you can't get a support rep on the phone.
One of the things I've seen quite frequently that falls perfectly into that is a lot of owners and managers, their most precious resource is their brain power, their bandwidth.
Yep.
They're doing so many things. And all those things have increased over time. Like when I first started out as a vacation rental manager, it was nothing compared to what's being asked of these folks now. And with a vendor, the vendors just presume that because we offer a good tool, you should naturally be using it, but they don't take into consideration the actual explaining of it clearly. A lot of vendors don't even show the pricing. So when the owner or the manager gets to the website, they're like kind of intimidated to even ask.
Yeah.
Not to mention ask for a demo to understand, not to mention actually get onboarded, which takes time and energy.
Yeah.
Do you see those gaps?
I mean, I was talking to our customer yesterday, and they had requested an in-person or a virtual onboarding from one of their vendors, and they were yet to be scheduled. And she logged into her PMS. They're only allowed to give 10 feedback requests over the course of their relationship. And she had logged into her portal and had a feedback request sitting from November 2014. So we're talking just a huge opportunity to, that's what software can be really good at, is being flexible and nimble and responsive to customer needs. And so whether that's in-person training or virtual training, making sure you're using every aspect of the tool, making sure you understand your pricing, it's incumbent on us to do better.
On that note, one of the things I've learned about Beyond over the last few months is how much you guys emphasize certain values, which is relatively fresh and new to the vacation rental industry, I think.
Yeah.
You want to summarize those real quick? Because I know they're important to you.
They are incredibly important to me. We have 5 core values, and it's both our internal core values and our external core values. So they apply to us as a team and us with our customers. Our first, and I'll give you the PG version, is we care. The non-PG version is we give a shit, because we do. That's why we're here, is we actually do care about your business and we care about each other. 2 is we're on the same team. So we all wash dishes at the company. We all get our hands dirty, and we're all on the same team as our customers. We want to make sure you're successful. And so that informs a lot of how we treat our customers. Third is we go beyond. I mentioned it already. From a customer service standpoint with each other, we all pitch in and do more. Fourth is we inspire trust. This is my favorite. I hold myself to a really high standard when it comes to integrity, doing what I say I'm going to do. And that's what the promise that we hold with our customers is, that you can trust us. Pricing is the most important component of your entire strategy. You put your trust in us. We need to, treasure that. And the fifth is we ship it. We never let perfect be the enemy of good. We get things out there, we test it, we learn, we take feedback. I'll give you 1 million feedback requests because we want to put tools in your hand and you tell us what's working or what's not working, and then iterate very, very quickly.
And I love those values. I especially love that they're the same internally and externally. For a vacation rental manager, the same magic works. If you can come up with a set of values that you preach as a team internally, it's actually a triple, because you're also projecting those values to the property owners and to your guests.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Did you have values?
No.
No?
I mean, we did, but we never actually articulated them.
Yeah.
Which is, I've seen companies that go through that process of actually writing it out and sharing it with every meeting that you take, and it helps to just get everybody on the same page in a way.
We kick it off with every meeting at our company.
I love that. Julie Brinkman, before we began this interview, you said, "Can I curse?"
I think I've cursed like 3 times.
You succeeded in cursing 2 times, and I'd like to salute you for that.
Oh, I won't let my daughter listen to it. She gives me shit.
Thanks for listening to today's interview. If you'd like to download a full transcript of this conversation, along with links to resources that we mentioned, head over to community.vrmb.com and click register. Our community is for folks who don't want to do it the hard way or alone. They want to use the path of least resistance. No reinventing the wheel here, just copying the best practices to vacation rental growth that are out there. We like to think that we have the most creative vacation rental professionals in the world, all under one virtual roof. That's community.vrmb.com/register.
We can make it better.